yet. There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Hello.
All right. So what did you guys think? I'm just
Right off the
going.
bat, just go right into it.
I'm just going right into it.
No icebreakers here.
No.
Roller coaster.
A very. I don't even know about that. I feel like a roller coaster. I mean, if anything, it was a very bad roller coaster. It was the log. What is the one where you just go in a circle and then go up and down like a log ride? It was that. It was very slow and flat, and then there was like that one big drop. That's kind of how I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first two were very more exciting. A lot more ups and downs with 1 and 2.
Yeah. The way this book was structured, it was just, I thought it would be more interesting when it started, and she had like there was that chance she would have been captured within the first 100 pages or so. I don't know if I would have liked her being captured, Ren, but I think it might have been a little bit more interesting, and it would have been at least a little different than just a war campaign the whole book.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what really frustrated me about this one is like in a horror movie when there's this bad guy and this bad guy's trying to kill everybody, and then they knock him out, or they do something to trap him, and they have a chance to kill him, and then they don't, and they just kind of like, let's run, and then he wakes up and he's trying to kill them again. It's kind of like this, because she had so many chances to end this, and then
they're just, you mean like Neja?
Yeah, and they're just hanging out, having a drink. They're like, oh, okay, well, let's be friends for a few minutes, and then I'll go back to trying to kill you in like 10 minutes. It's just kind of, I don't know.
Which I wonder then if she sorry, I also read this. This is the first book I read of the month, so I'm gonna forget things. It's not really fresh. I wonder if Miss Kwong then thought about the ending and knew she wanted the ending like that, and then wrote everything else in, because obviously we had to have Neja there at the end, so she couldn't kill him. Or I guess at least try very hard to kill him. I mean, it's not like she even tried that hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, look at it here.
I was really disappointed with this one.
I feel like I feel like what really upset me, and this is what I would definitely like to hear your guys' opinion, is after the climax and the book was technically over, which is AKA when they defeat the dragon, I was so confused that was the ending, basically. That was the climax, and everything else was following action from there. And I think what frustrated me, and again, this is probably very realistic, is you spend all your time in war and you finally win, and it's not enough, and nothing is smooth from there, which I'm sure can be realistic. I don't think it makes for like good fiction or enjoyable story, because everything after that point where like nothing was going wrong. Oh my god, when what's her face died, and again, sorry, I haven't read it since the beginning of the month.
Venka.
Yeah,
when Venka died, and you never really know what happened, and they go to the poppy fields, and then those are burned. And I was just like, holy crap! Like, I wasn't expecting a happy ending, but like it was just like all downhill and negative after negative after negative after what he thought was the climactic end. We're supposed to be all victorious. It was so hard to read.
Yep, I agree. I think she could have done it better if that climax would have been maybe halfway through the book, and she would have been able to elongate that ending and go more in depth. But I also thought that was part of the downfall of this book, personally. The time skips overall. It was like at one point she's in the dirigible, and then the next she's traveling for weeks with 2/3 of the trifecta, and it's like, wait, what is the timing here?
Yeah.
And it just wasn't, for me, it just wasn't good.
It just drug on. A lot of I think it was unnecessarily long.
A lot of weird pacing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and I do partly agree with you, Liz, on that. It's not necessarily that I feel like we necessarily needed to stretch out some of the stuff, but I agree that that part almost should have been halfway because it is the technical conclusion to the book. And so when we get there at the point that we did, it felt so weird with it almost being the end and unsure of where we were going from there. And again, we thought this was supposed to be a victory, and we're at the end of the book, and it's so terrible after that. So at least if it was halfway, I feel like it wouldn't feel like, oh, this is the high point and it's only going to get better from here. It's like this is the halfway point. We thought this victory was going to happen, but it gets so much worse. I think that was what threw me off. Is like you're expecting this. This is supposed to be the end, and it's like not. And so it made the rest of that ending feel so just weird and awfully paced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I started to really enjoy Rin in the second book, and I kind of felt like the character was progressing, but I felt like she degressed. She went back to this obnoxious teenager when I would have imagined her character would have changed more than that. It just seemed off. It just didn't really fit.
She still seemed complicated. Yeah, I don't think it was. I guess it was more like she didn't stay. I don't know the right words for it, but yeah, like when she changed and kind of like grew from there, she didn't really stay at that growth. She still kind of bounced around, which some parts I didn't mind because it's like I feel like that's very stereotypical. Is like once you change, you're entirely different forever. It's like all your past sins and mistakes are just never going to come up again or not going to affect how you currently act. So I did still like that there was still some stuff that she tried to get rid of, but she couldn't completely get rid of it. Like it was still instinctual and you still saw parts of her original personality. So
yeah.
So I guess it's the elephant in the room, but how did everyone feel about the end?
I honestly I just thought it was kind of
pretty much.
I kind of just thought it was beautiful that Katai went with her. Just the way that they fought at the end and everything like that, and just their connection. And again, I loved how it was never romantic.
Oh yeah.
But in the end, when he like finally went, it's like I actually liked the very end. I just didn't like the like as I've complained about already. I didn't like the ending of the book, the last like quarter, but I think I did like the end. I thought it was very beautiful the way Katai went there. And I think I was relying on this, as we all are, to kind of discuss, I guess, the implications of leaving the job behind and what that means and stuff like that. It's like on the surface, I think I enjoyed it, but I haven't really thought too much about what it really means or what it implies.
No, I think I agree with John. Again, I finished it a couple hours ago, so I haven't really thought too much in depth about it. But I couldn't see it ending in any other way.
Yeah.
There was, and I think we talked about this at the end of the second book too. There was no way for this to be happy, point blank. It had to end in bloodshed, and I don't know if I would have been happy with any other terrible ending.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word. What about you, Steve?
Okay. So on one hand, I think it's great when I like that she took a chance and she gave us an ending not many people were expecting. On the other hand, it kind of made me wonder, well, she didn't leave the world in a better place than she found it, because she went through all this trouble to all these different wars and all these battles, and then she kind of conceded again. She just gave it up. So on one hand, I kind of took it as I kind of took it as a knock against religion in a way, because they were so faithful, and it seemed like the opposing side was more science-based because they had all these new inventions they were building and creating, and they were more focused on growth, and she was more focused on faith. And I kind of took that as even just in history, as we grow as a civilization, and we grow past, leaning so hard on religion, and some people lean more towards science and technology, and making the world a better place and not just sticking to their faith. So I kind of took that as just a natural growth as we all, as a civilization, as we grow and learn. And I kind of took that as it was an end of, almost like an end of an era or end of a period of time, that she realized that she was wrong. I don't know if she realized she was wrong, but I don't know. I'm kind of stuck on the ending. We knew that it wasn't going to be a happy ending, but it seemed like she was just out of control. Like she couldn't. It wouldn't have ended any other way because she was just. You know. I mean, even as a reader, after spending so much time with her, I didn't know what she was going to do next. It was kind of like a rabid dog. Like you didn't know she was really unpredictable. You didn't know what she was going to do next, and she was, for as much training as they went through, and they didn't focus on. They were just what would happen after and rebuilding. And I think that's an interesting theme that they went towards and they kind of touched on it in like Game of Thrones when you can take over, you can take control of a city, but then what? There's all these other there's a whole nother slew of issues you have to deal with.
I think it's interesting that you bring up Game of Thrones because I feel like Daenerys has a very similar idea, and although it's executed terribly in the last season, the point of it, at least I don't know if this is Kwang's intention of the ending. What I feel like is the point of Rin and the Phoenix and that uncontrollable rabid hatred is the fact that she's supposed to burn everything to the ground so that they can like start over. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I thought that's what Rin realized and why she told Najah to kill her, because she's like, I want to win, but if I win, I will just keep burning and I will just keep destroying things. And now everything has been destroyed and it needs to grow and start from there. I think that was the point of, I think that's when she finally realized what she needed to do and why she decided to basically lose and leave it to people who can build. Because all she and the Phoenix could do was ever burn.
That's a good point.
I didn't even think about that.
Is it a sad point? Hell yeah. But
rise from the ashes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the point, at least to me. I it's interesting you guys didn't like naturally see that, because I don't know if that was the point of it. That seemed pretty clear to me. So I do think it's interesting that you guys like didn't really see that or perceive that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just wonder like if it wasn't as obvious as I thought it was, or wasn't so clear.
Now that you say it, though, I love it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, all right, I'm gone. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
We finished it. 13 minutes. Let's go. No.
The rest of it still wasn't that good, though. Like I said, I did enjoy the very, very end, the last chapter in that last half a chapter in the last chapter. But I still have lots of complaints about everything else.
Here's my question. And I can't remember in the first or second book, but there wasn't any like flashback history. Like we got to have chapters from the trifecta perspective. We got to have a chapter from Najah's perspective. What did you think about that in this last book? Like I don't remember that from the first or second book.
Well, the second one, I thought they had the flashback to how the trifecta originally got their powers, or was that in this book?
I think that was in this book.
I think so.
Oops. Well,
because that was the beginning chapter, maybe?
Oh, maybe. Maybe, again, that's why it feels like it was like so long ago. Yeah, I thought the flashback were where we realized that girl who I think is Rin's mother now that we learned, that like I thought that whole cutscene. What is this? I thought that whole scene was in book 2, but I don't remember.
Was that officially her mother, or was that just someone who looked like her?
It seemed to heavily imply. I don't know if anyone was straight up like. It was more just implying that her people were a problem to the Emperor.
Yeah.
The chapter, the opening chapter of this one is a flashback to before. It looks like before they got their powers.
Oh, that's right.
But like not even they hadn't even met the power people. It was just like I think just showing how shitty and terrible their lives were, and I think it implies that they're then going to go look for these people and find powers.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was just really interesting to me that all of a sudden we have these flashback scenes because it wasn't. It's been 3 months.
Yeah. I really don't remember. Like, I really thought that we got the trifecta scene in the second one. Not only that, though, we did get Daji's. That didn't come out right. We did get Daji's scene in book 1 where she went and killed one of the shadow people.
You're right.
So there was a little bit of perspective hopping here and there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't completely come out of the blue. At least I don't think. But I liked it. I liked the perspective. I did think I think Najah's. I think the second book started with Najah's point of view, with him losing his brother. Just like how this one started with Daji's point of view.
Okay. Yes, you must be right. Because we had to have gotten that somewhere, huh?
So yeah, I think it was like spread out a bit. But so anyways, was your point that you liked this, or that you liked seeing it, or?
I thought it was interesting the way she did it, because especially with now I'm forgetting the mother. Let's just call her the mother for lack of a better word. I forget her name. But it wasn't like a true flashback scene. It was it's heavily implied and you don't get the full story from the perspective. And I liked that part where you just have to build your own pieces.
And then later when she runs back into I'm losing all the names. When she runs into no, I don't think so. The guy that used to be a twin, his twin died in book 2.
Yeah.
When she runs in
Durga
or yeah, whatever. When she runs into him before the trifecta go to the mountain, she runs into him and he takes them into the dream world where they talk to the ghost of, I guess, again, Rin's mother or whatever. And that's kind of like an in-book actual flashback as opposed to just like her writing a scene and we're from the perspective of Najah or whatever. I think that's one of the few times you do like an in-person like flashback, or a plot-driven or a plot reason why we're having a flashback, or something like that. It's like not just like us like omnipotently seeing this other scene. It's like Rin's actually seeing it.
Yeah.
Itself.
I liked it.
Yeah, I like you broke it up a little bit. It's I think, Steve, we talked about this a bit in The Faithful and the Fallen. It's like, again, it's like when these books strategically put in other perspectives that we don't already know, or that the main character doesn't know. I think it works a lot better. It stands out more to the viewer because we're like, oh yeah, we don't see this that much. We don't see this that often, so this is really important, or this is like really interesting. Instead of if we just constantly got Najah's perspective and Daji's perspective and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that would have been good. That would not have been good. But I know it's this series. It seems like people either love it or hate it, or they have really strong opinions about it. But I kind of admire that she did this, because in a book like Faithful and the Fallen, it's just kind of boring. So at least it's something we can chat about. At least it's something that we all have thoughts, and even if we don't agree, or everyone, you have a reaction to this type of story and the way that it ended, especially. So I admire that she did something that I didn't expect.
Yeah, I feel like we can have a genuine discussion about a book. Right. It's not just like, yeah, go ahead. I was kind of done with that thought. Go ahead, Liz.
The way this book ended, even though I wasn't in love with even the whole book itself, it doesn't ruin the series for me either. And then that's what I like about it. Like, I could see myself picking this series up in a year or two again, just to enjoy it. Maybe not enjoy it, to hurt
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, like I definitely think that I think it's the thing is like I have so many like again as you said fond memories, if you can say that, about reading the first and second book, and honestly, it really is thanks to you guys. I think this is a very I think it's the perfect book to have a discussion about it because when you actually talk about these issues and what they mean to individuals and what they mean to history, it just means a lot and it really hits a little bit harder. I feel like I didn't get that as much here in this third book. I think the most I can really think about is when Rin goes back to her village, and oh my god, when they find the pile of bodies and there's a boy in there,
I forgot
like that
about that.
was
Yeah.
yeah, that was like really that's probably one of the main moments I can feel like because that hit that was really strong, but that hit at the same level as finding dead bodies in the snow, finding the poisoned water. Um, I mean, there's so much more. The main one, obviously, back was from book one, where that whole town was just eviscerated. It's like there's a lot of moments like that. And I feel like that probably hit the hardest in this one. The rest of it seemed very just like we are going on a slow adventure. I think probably the trifecta hurt most of that is because we weren't dealing with the people and the villages. Were these super powered, omnipotent, ancient people instead of seeing real humans, which is where I think we get a lot of those beautifully tragic moments.
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion about the trifecta, Liz?
Well, like you said, that really hurt the book, in my opinion, as well, because you get this whole, like, the whole trilogy is kind of based off of them. You have this huge legend about them, and then all of a sudden it's meaningless, right?
Yeah.
It really
Not
is
what you
meaningless.
expect at all.
And it's built up that way though too throughout the first half of this book. It's like everyone's warning her that the dragon emperor, not the dragon emperor. Oh, Riga. The guy's name is Riga. That Riga is this horrible, horrible person, and she doesn't trust them until she actually meets him.
You know, honestly, all of that seems so forgettable. It's like, do we like how the first half of the book is like her getting Daji and then going to get the gatekeeper and then they go to get the king and they're like, oh, like in that same scene they release the king. He's a terrible human being, so then they die. Rin escapes and they kill them all. Like I don't want to say it was wasteful, but
It was meaningless
like
because
someone
that's
help me here. I need help with this.
but then what's the alternative, right? I mean, they're in another war, which we've already had two of in the two previous books. She's already been tortured twice. So do we want her tortured a third time with the Hyperions? Do we want her captured? Because she's been captured before. I mean, what's the alternative?
The only thing I could think of is that maybe because she's had hope before, and in return she was betrayed. I feel like this is the first time where we've had hope, and Rin has had hope, and and then it ended badly. We lost the hope, like it was all folly. But she wasn't betrayed at least, so it didn't seem too repetitive. But the only thing I could think of is that we had hope, and we saw Rin have a goal and hope for this, and it like completely failed, which maybe is then why we're supposed to like that. I mean, did that push her over to creating her own people, her own
Her
magic people?
shamans?
I don't know. Yes, thank you. I don't know any of these terms at the moment. But yeah, is that what pushed her to make the shamans? Maybe that's why we're supposed to be like, okay, she needed to have this hope lost and these people killed. Like I don't know the point of it. Steve,
Maybe.
what was the point?
Yeah, Steve, tell us.
Well, so Riga and when that happened, okay, so I was a little confused because there's this big, long, drawn out journey, and it seems like everything is falling apart. People are, leaving, they're escaping. People are dying on the way. They're starving. This seems like everything is going wrong. No one wants to help her for good reason. And so then they go up and they wake Riga, if I'm pronouncing this right. So, and then she realizes, yeah, he's a really terrible person who's probably not going to help me. He had no interest in helping her. Okay, so she escapes. They die. The aircraft that has been following them is destroyed. Most of them are destroyed. And then it just seems like her whole attitude changed, and she's like, well, no, I have to be on the offensive because I have the upper hand. But I don't know. It just seemed a lot of things changed in those few pages. The whole tone totally
changed. That is
changed.
not what I wanted. I am now just as confused, if not more confused, about why this had to happen. Why don't you know the answer? Yeah, that like I said, that's the weakest part of the book. Is I don't understand. It's like I have to kind of just ignore that as if there wasn't a transition at all, and just be like, this plan failed. Now let's move on to creating our own army of shaman. That I feel like there is no connection there. I have to just think it's just like, this was one plan that didn't work out. Here's the next one, which is a really lame. Yeah. Hopefully, there's a connection we're just missing.
I think part of it is that this way of thinking, and it kind of goes back to the religion and this faith-based. Her mentality was surrounded around faith and tradition, and she wanted to, even though she realized that these cities were thriving when they were focusing on building and technology and science, and people were happy, and it made her angry that these people were happy in these other places. So I think part of it was that part of the reason why she created these shamans is because I think the author wanted us to know that she had the ability to do this, and when she died, that was all gone. No one else knew how to do it. She was the last person who had this knowledge to create these other shamans and to bind. No one else knew about binding. They kept it a secret. So it almost seemed like that way of thinking, that way of life is gone with her.
I don't know if that's true though, because
you have the nomads.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The nomadic people, I don't think they died. I think after Riga died, the nomads were just like, well, that's what we were here for. We just wanted to make sure that Riga didn't get loose, and like that was it. I don't think we saw an end to them.
But I don't think they knew how to create shamans though, right? They didn't know how to train and create new.
Well, they were the ones that taught
the trifecta.
The Kaiganese. Wait, no, I just said sort of Kaigan. What the hell am I talking about? Not Kaigan. Wherever we are here in this book. Yeah, they're the ones that taught Rin and her country how to do it. If anything, maybe the very popularized, or it's like I don't think people knew about the nomads though. So I think with her dying, the original way to get these powers, or the fact that these powers came from these people, I do think that died with her. So I think the nomads, who we have seen are much more responsible with these powers and these gods, they are leaving the country, and now the country, again, since it was burned from the ground, it can start to grow without this, without these gods that ruin things. So I think you are right, Steve. I just don't think it's completely dead in the universe as a whole, but for that country, I think it is.
Yeah, it seemed like they were ready to move on, and they were not happy when she wanted to wake. They tried to talk her out of waking Riga. So I don't know. They did a lot of silly things that I didn't really understand. It just seemed kind of, for people who were trained in combat. No, Rin and Katai, the balloon that they went over, they were trying to sneak in, and it's like, no one's going to see that. I mean, they're going to see you from miles and miles away. Instead of just trying to find a way. It seemed like kind of a silly thing. Like, who's not going to see you? I don't know.
I think it was like they were trying to distract or something like that. I think they tried to put people in multiple different places and thinking that they wouldn't.
They would, it was
there.
Right. Yeah, they were trying to separate all. I think they did 3 different, or how many different
7.
Parties 7. Sorry.
Yeah. No,
But
again, I
yeah.
just finished reading it.
I would never.
I thought that was stupid too. It was.
And if you're gonna do that, then don't put all the shamans you've been training on one big balloon that has a big target on it. Like everyone's on this one aircraft that has a big bullseye on it. Just seemed kind of strange.
You know, I will say some positives is at least to me, it was not obvious that when we were rounding up these group of traumatized children, and I should have seen it, but I didn't. I didn't think that we were getting our shamans. Am I upset that they all died at the end? Yeah, that fucking sucked. But now it makes sense again what Steve said, that they wanted to make sure nobody else had this power. So it makes sense if you know that. But I did like how I didn't expect for us to slowly get these traumatized kids, and that they're the ones that have the strength and the endurance and the experience to be able to successfully get these powers. So I like that. I didn't expect that, which I feel like I should have. And I feel like it was very natural the way she gathered her team and then turned them into shaman.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I did like that part. And I liked the way that she put them to rest too. I thought that was another very humanistic way. I don't know. Yeah, sure. Let's go with that word.
Humanitarian, maybe?
Humanitarian way. Every village has a place of unknown graves. And that one got to me, actually. And Rin was able to.
Said, like, the mother, is that like where the mothers and they go, something like that?
Where the mothers go to bury their unborn babies, or
I think
girls
specifically female, yeah. Which is, I mean, obviously like very tough. We've already talked a lot about how hard it is on females specifically in this world and the way they treat them. And I know that's very real, is again not wanting a baby girl compared to needing a man. So that was really tough. And again, it was really small, but again, these little moments that Kwong puts in are very powerful, of these unmarked graves and these mothers that go to mourn their girls.
Yeah. I thought that was really well. I don't want to say well done, but it was impactful. It was.
Yeah. So that one was a good scene. It's impactful. Let's go impactful.
Yeah. I think there's just a disclaimer here. We don't think any of these things are nice, and they're terrible for people, but they are written well.
Yeah.
They invoke feelings, which is usually a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think it could have been shortened by about 200 pages and still told the same story.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's probably stuff that you could tell me where there, at this point, after having finished all 3 of them and having a month to set in, they blurred together a lot. So there's probably a lot of stuff you could tell me where I'd be like, oh, did that happen in book 3? Like, I don't remember. Or I could potentially be like, I completely forgot that happened at all because it seemed inconsequential.
Yeah. It was a long series. Because it didn't... Well,
we haven't even talked about the whole beginning, where it's literally just her with the Southern people who basically are sort of leading her on because they don't really want her to be a commander because she's like a crazy girl, and then she kills that guy to basically then have to like take over his position. Like, all of that is again dropped as soon as we kind of get to like the trifecta part. It's like you get like, I mean, I don't think she needed to drop it, but those are things to consider. Steve said where some of this could be trimmed and it would be fine, because it's like, honestly, like, how you could not even read that part and you'd have the same story.
No, it's true. Because at the end of the second book, they basically guaranteed her a command position, and all of a sudden it's a 180 at the beginning of this book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little confusing at the beginning because it kind of felt like they had moved past that, and then we were back to where we started. So it was a little strange. But
also, didn't she keep getting betrayed in this one too? Like,
yes.
Wasn't somebody, the guy that's supposed to be really attractive, that she like almost slept with, wasn't he actually on Najah's side?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was like, are you kidding me? Can we stop at the betrayal? I think that was a little too much. Like, book 1 and 2 book 2 was full of betrayals.
And it was done well, though. book too. This one, it was just like, okay, sure, let's just continue.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like I said, book 1 and 2, it worked well, and it is upsetting how often she gets betrayed, because you really felt that like that the people that betrayed her did it well. Like, it was written about why they did it, or you can see like how it wasn't really stupid or it didn't come out of nowhere, and their reasoning behind why they betrayed Rin, even if they were evil about it, it all made sense. Whereas this one, I was just like, okay, whatever. I think he was just like, I also am betraying you because of
But then it
reasons.
was also, again, kind of meaningless, because then Deja comes in and like saves her, and then the trifecta thing started, and that was meaningless as well. And it was just, yeah.
A lot of those.
Technically, yeah.
I feel like it honestly could have just been Rin finding the traumatized children, making her army, her shaman army trying to defeat the Northerns, them defeating the dragon. Which, okay, honestly, I actually thought about this. I thought it was so cool. It didn't even work, but I thought it was so cool about the poison lady, and that they were going to be like, oh, we can poison the water and kill the dragon. I was like, oh, that's so cool. I mean, that's not what they did. And again, it sucks that it gave us hope and worked. I should have known. If Rin figured out that that was their plan, I should have known it wasn't going to work. But yeah, my point is just like, I think it could have just been her getting shamans, her going to kill the dragon, and then the war being over, but then the land not recovering, and it not being easy. And that could have been the third book, and I feel like that could have been it. It still wouldn't have been amazing, but like again, like as Steve said, you literally could probably cut out the first 50%, and it wouldn't really matter.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I was really hoping they weren't going to poison the water, because if they poison the water, then where are all these people going to live?
Well, they've already done that. That was the first book, right?
Yeah, that was the second book.
The second book? Second book. Thank you.
It was that same land. It was around the Dragon Province.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I don't think they were going to poison all the water. They're just going to poison the dragon's water. He's a water dragon. He lives in, his whole thing is like it being in a cove. So it would make sense to poison his like cove to kill him. It just didn't work.
I've been really bummed if that would have worked. If that would have done that.
I think if they didn't make it so obvious, if they didn't tell us that that was Rin's plan, and that was a consequence of like her, like maybe like that girl who was very traumatized by what she did. I mean, she killed somebody else like almost immediately when she got her powers. She felt so awful about basically, oh my god, when it gave you her backstory of why her sister is the way it is.
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard that before. I'm not saying she stole it, but I feel like I've heard that story before of, and actually I'm pretty sure it died. The last time I heard this story, I don't know what movie or book it was, but yeah, like basically trying to protect someone and stop them from crying that they killed the person they were trying to protect. And that gave me it gives me goosebumps now. But yeah, that was a really powerful backstory. So yeah, I feel like she just went a really powerful character with maybe in her last moments, that's how she would have defeated it. If we didn't know that she was going to poison the water, because honestly, I actually still don't know how we defeated the dragon. Like Najah did something.
Najah. I thought this book was full of those, though. Like, just different backstories. We don't know what happened. And I'm not sure if I am okay with that or not. I'm still kind of grappling with it. And so, yeah. Because, like, how did the Hyperions, whatever, stop the shaman power? Do we know?
It sounded like they just short-circuited their brains. Like they just tased them, so they couldn't think basically. Because I think that's what it was. It's like they had to think about the gods or connect to it. And I guess maybe they were implying there's something in your brain. I think that's what it is. They just tased them, and it short-circuited their body, so they couldn't focus the call on the gods.
So that's weird.
Yeah, I don't think I understand the logic behind it. I don't think it was set up well to be like, oh, this is how their powers work, so this is a natural way for them to stop it. I just understand that that's what they were doing, was tasing them, and it made their powers stop.
Okay. I don't like that, actually.
one thing I did like
Please.
was the discussion behind, and I don't remember if we brought this up in the second or third one, but this is multifaceted. The discussion that the white people, the Hyperions, are more advanced in technology, but is it because I think they brought up in the book, but because of, can someone tell me the name of this country? So I stop saying Kaigen. Because I'm reading Sword of Kaigen, I keep forgetting the name.
Nikon.
Nikon. Yeah. And Nikon has been at war the whole time. So anytime they maybe get, I mean, sometimes war does progress, but usually just progresses weaponry. So it's like they're sort of building stuff up just to sort of destroy each other, and they're not really building on things that are non-war related. And I think that was something interesting, is like the Hyperion are like, oh, look how uncivilized you are. And they're like, well, not really, because we kind of keep killing each other. We haven't had a chance to grow. So I think that was an aspect that they explored. But then I liked how when we got to see the city and this advanced city, which I thought was so crazy, I'm like, oh, we are here. I was like, we are in this time period where it is this advanced compared to Nikon. And how some people, including Kitai, were like, I mean, I liked it. It wasn't all bad. It's like, just because they're Hyperion doesn't mean their advancements don't make life easier or nicer or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we needed to see that too for Rin to make the choice that she did at the end of the book, right? She could see the future, and she didn't know how to get there without killing herself to end the war. And
or at least she couldn't be the one to lead them into that future.
Right.
Yeah.
She couldn't build.
She could burn.
She could man. Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of my favorite parts. I liked seeing that aspect. And again, that was in the middle of the trifecta thing. I think that was a positive of the trifecta storyline, is seeing this renovation in the world that they could have if they stopped all killing each other.
Mm-hmm. But then they keep killing each other.
Yeah.
Is it human nature or is it something else?
Oh, there's a lot of hate in that place between the longboat country and the Spirians.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of hate.
I think there was a lot of hate no matter who you were, because Spearly, Nick Khan, Mungies, any person, Munganese, thank you. Any person in this world she created, they all hated each other.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. They all saw each other as less than, including the Hyperions. They, again, I don't know how fully it was explored. I think that they were too big, or if anything, I think they won. So since they won their area, or maybe they didn't have anyone to fight against, they have the opportunity to grow. But outside of Hyperion, they see everybody as less than. They see each other like as monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gross.
Yeah.
It's a world filled with hate. And is it any different than our world?
Yeah.
I definitely think, again, that's when, if we were going to kind of like sidetrack into maybe some more morality and stuff like that, I do think that that's one, even though there's a lot of hate over the internet and social media, I think it goes without saying that it's connecting all of us, and we can actually see and just like reading in general, actually, that's what reading does, is we're seeing people's perspectives, so we understand how everyone is just like different shades of our own perspectives. So I do think that with the internet and technology, we're more connected to each other, and we're not so mysterious. We can understand other people better. Whereas in this world, it's not easy to go between Hyperion. It's not easy for them to understand and see and communicate with like the Nikon and stuff like that. So I would hope it has gotten better, and I definitely think us being more empathetic and having the technology and the time to read about other experiences is, and not constantly at war. I mean, I know we've had wars and people are still fighting, but I mean, they're always at war. I don't think we have that too much at the moment.
But not at this scale, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. a lot of things to think about.
Yeah,
But no, I agree.
I've really enjoyed this book because of this. I think it would have been fine if I read it by myself. I think it's like beautiful, the things that we've like talked about, and how we can express that. It makes me feel it's like I like this book series so much more because of talking about it with you guys. It would have been a fine book by itself, but it means more being able to like talk to people and hear your guys' like perspective on it.
Yeah. Thank you.
A lot to think about. Yeah. So I hate to I hate to bring this up because I feel like I'm being overly negative, and I didn't hate this book. It was okay, but was anyone else tired of the Altan? Was anyone?
I thought we were done. Like after part 2, I thought that was the point of it.
I thought that was the point of connecting Kate with that we'd be done with Altan, but all of a sudden he's like not a moral compass, but anti-moral compass. I don't even know what he was.
He's kind of just there to, I guess, like talk. It's like, wait, I think she eventually, didn't she say that? I think at one point, did it become that she or he kind of represented her, and it was sort of just her way of talking to someone, and she didn't realize she was talking to herself or her consciousness. It was just in the form of Altan, because he wasn't as much of an asshole as he was in the first and second one. But I definitely thought we were done seeing him.
Me too. I know. I wouldn't have minded if it was just, I think it was like a flashback scene when she had first met Riga. And it was him on the island when he first was led to the torture guy. That would have been fine, but everything else with her, no.
Yeah. I actually forgot it brought up. I don't even remember much about that scene, actually. I remember it happening, but I don't remember if it obviously didn't impact me that much because I don't remember much of it. But I forgot they brought up Altan, and when those people first came there. And I think wasn't it like right after he left, the island immediately burned after that.
Mm-hmm. Or it was about they like sent 20 Spearly kids to be experimented on, and that's why that girl defected to try to get them back, and then Riga decided to just burn the island, and so that's what happened. Because why not?
Yeah, I think when we ran into him, we discussed why he hated them so much, but I don't know if it was just like, oh, they're so strong and uncontrollable, so since I fear them, I will kill them. I don't know if it was that simple.
I think it was even simpler that he just didn't think they were human.
Yeah.
His life, right?
Yeah.
Any other negative things, Steve?
No. Overall, it was all right. It was okay. I didn't hate it.
Again, I think some of the things were okay. Even some of the stuff we didn't like that we found unnecessary or pointless on their own could be intriguing. Like the trifecta. I actually still don't think the beginning ever would be interesting. I don't think I really cared at all about her again being in the midst of all these generals and these guys that don't respect her and don't give her a position. I mean, maybe it was just to reinforce that like she shouldn't be in charge. So later, when she still thinks that she won, this is supposed to be her victory. How can I give this up? Again, it feels more impactful that she's choosing to realize I can't lead these people and I'm not the future. Maybe. I still don't think it was necessary. I don't think I would have liked anything about that beginning. I think if I ever read it, I might possibly just skip it. But everything else had interesting moments. I just think the way that she tried to connect them and put logic behind them just didn't work that well at all.
Well, how about this? So we're now done with the trilogy. What was your favorite part of the trilogy?
I mean, I feel like we already kind of touched on it. Like, if we're just talking, I feel like there's different answers to that. Again, if we're just talking about what we liked in general, it's like I liked the parts that very viscerally stood out. I honestly in hindsight didn't think I would, but like that initial like sacking of that village, the civilians in the snow, stuff like that. It's like I liked how these scenes they didn't just come out of nowhere. I feel like it seemed realistic in the way it built up to it. I think it all worked really well. So that's why I definitely liked about the series overall. And I guess if we're going to be specific about scenes, I could probably think of something, but I'll let one of you two go.
I like the first book is memorable because of the second half, because it's so powerful. But as far as enjoyment, I enjoyed the warfare tactics in the second book when they're traveling and they're going up the river, and I thought that was all very interesting and probably things that have happened, and that I thought was fun. And I don't want to say fun like it was,
impactful.
But, impactful.
It was intriguing. I mean,
that.
like their pig intestines and stuff like that, like figuring out different ways to murder each other.
Yeah.
Always.
And you wonder if that's a real thing. I mean, is that something? I'm sure people have tried every single way to kill each other. So maybe it is a real thing. But
not to be cliche, but Nom flashbacks I think is a thing for a reason. I feel like that probably definitely comes a lot from. I mean, there's a lot of things like the Vietnam Wars that made it so awful because they had these brutal ways to like kill people. So I'm sure that everything else is very realistic, and definitely it seems a lot more sophisticated, the way they're doing things. So yeah, again, they're progressing and they're intelligent, but it's just about murdering people. There's no growth on civilian or life things, life expectancy things.
Yes.
What about you, Liz? What was your
standout? I think my favorite parts were the most emotionally impactful scenes, right? Just like John was saying, like in this last book, I think the most impactful scene for me was that last scene with Rin finding that graveyard to bury her pseudo children, shaman people, her orphans. Or even when Nakan, no, not Nakan, Najah stabbed her at the end of the second book. Yeah. Those little scenes that just really emotionally hurt you. That's what I loved about this series.
Yeah, it's not always easy to explain, but Steve comparing it to like Faithful and the Fallen is you can't always properly explain why you care about people or characters, but when something happens to them and you feel it, then you know the author did something right. Like I can't explain 100% why a lot of the characters didn't mean anything to me, or their deaths didn't mean anything to me in Faithful and the Fallen, nor can I explain why these random people I don't know and we don't have any information about in the Poppy War, but when they die, it means something.
Right. And I wasn't a fan of this last book, but I was still crying at the end. Yeah. So it's
that Katai going with her was everything. I was like, you just almost fucking murdered each other. Mm-hmm. And she goes, and I was just like, and again, I think that was one of my predictions. I didn't think Katai was going to go with her, and when he went with her, it was a flashback. Immediately, like I had like their lives flash before my eyes of the first book and the second book and everything they've been through. I was just like, that hit me.
Right? It's like I'm just trying to speed through this book. It was just not. It was a slog, but at the end, it was just like, okay, thanks. Thanks, Claude. Appreciate it.
It hurts. I'm hurting.
So she did something right there. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. So what do you all think about the trilogy as a whole?
I mean, rough. I think I would still give it a 4.5 or maybe a 4. Like I said, I think that it had a lot of moments that mean a lot to me. But in terms of like maybe consistency or it being condensed and the flow of all three books together didn't work for me. So it wasn't perfect. Not every moment was enjoyable, but yeah, I definitely would still like it. Like as a whole, I think I gave the first book 5 stars because of you guys. I gave the second book 4 stars when I think I originally gave it like 3, and I think I gave this one 3 stars. So I feel like just averaging that all together, yeah, I would say like 4 to 4. I'd say like a 4-star series.
Yeah, I'm about the same. I think the first one I definitely gave a 5. I loved that one. I would reread it in a heartbeat, probably. The second one, I think I gave it a 4 or 4.5 because it was good. I loved it. This one, I'm leaning towards a 3 or a 3.5. Or if I ever did reread the series, like you, John, I'd probably skip a lot of it, the third one, and just probably get to the end. But overall, a 4, probably 4-star. It's not my favorite series at all, but it had a lot of moments.
Yeah. I'm happy to be those people now that are going to have it on my shelf. It's like I see it on so many people's shelves, and I'm just like, I'm happy to represent that.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
What about you, Steve?
Yeah.
I think it probably as a trilogy, probably a 4-star. I think it was, and like we mentioned, I think having such a reaction at the end was she did something right with this series. So, the third book is probably I don't know if it's my least favorite, but it's my least favorite.
I don't know if my least favorite, but it is a high chance.
High chance it's the least favorite.
Oh, she's really pretty too. I was trying to see if she wrote any other books.
She's currently writing her next series.
It's interesting you bring that up.
Yeah, no, she's I follow her on Twitter, and it sounds like it's going to be some type of school series, a magical school series, maybe.
Well, I actually, unlike a lot of people, I did like. Sorry, Steve, we keep interrupting you. I'm sorry.
No.
Real quick, I really liked the first book, the first half of her trying to get into school and the implications of dangerous education and what you have to do to get out of your situation to go to school, which is very real to a lot of people now, just even in America, like people who can't go to college but feel like they need an education and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just, yeah, I mean, if she chooses to not be that serious, I'm sure it'll still work out. But I loved a lot about the first one and the first half of the first book with it being in that educational system. So I'm actually really excited for that then, if that's her kind of goal.
Yeah. The fact that you brought up what she's working on next, and I wondered this when I finished the last book, is do we know for sure that Riga is dead?
They never found bodies.
Yeah.
So I don't think so.
I kind of wonder
if came back to it.
Kind of wonder if she might ever continue this story with somehow.
I honestly wouldn't mind prequel series, either before or after. Yeah.
I was gonna say this. I feel like it would be so overdone for them to still be alive and come back when we're supposed to be growing from this. I would feel that'd be really overdone. But yes, Liz, if they did a prequel, I would be very interested to hear more about them.
Yeah, because either I would be very interested to see maybe 100 years after or even 50 years after this series and how the kingdom has evolved, or even just maybe even just a series with the trifecta, or even pre-trifecta, maybe a series on the nomads. That would be really interesting to me.
Yeah.
So one can hope. She's a budding author that has been highly successful in her first series. So
yeah, crazy. Like, yeah, it's just like Faith from the Fallen. It's like, even if it's divisive, I mean, it's popular for a reason. I'm actually gonna go follow her now. That you mentioned that.
She's actually really funny. I think I also follow her on TikTok, and she has some really funny TikToks.
Rebecca.
I don't know if the Faith from the Fallen is that divisive, John. I think we're one of
the minority.
Just a handful. We're the minority.
You guys are really not selling it to me. I will say that.
I discussed this in Faithful and Fallen, but 2 of my friends who are reading it this month were reading Malice, and they're both halfway through, and they were like, "Should we continue?" And I'm like, "If you want positive feedback, don't ask me." One of my friends actually asked me. Well, one of them I told what I didn't like about it. I was like, if you're feeling this, and this, it doesn't change for me in book 2 or 3. And one of my friends was like, "Can you spoil the rest?" They're at 50% of the way through. Can you spoil the last half? And I'm like, no, because I don't know what happens. Like I can only remember the very, very end of the book. It's like if you asked me to spoil everything that happens in The Burning God, and I was just like, Rin dies, Katai goes with her. Like that's basically what I remember from the first book of The Faithful and the Fallen. So yeah, you're not going to get any support from me on it, unfortunately. Not on purpose. I just literally can't. I can't think of a way to sell people on it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hold off on that for a couple of years, probably.
Well,
if I ever get to it.
And I've said this to people, even if you really, really enjoy it and you I just feel like if you're new to fantasy, maybe, but it's so unoriginal and
tropey.
Yeah, and not unique. It's they're basically like, oh, it's like basically like really classical fantasy. So if you're reading books like the Poppy War, these really interesting, amazing worlds and characters, Faithful and Fallen seems so boring or bland because there's not much to it. Like if you've read the Stormlight Archives or Game of Thrones, those are, I mean, I know they're supposed to be really great books, but I'm like, that has amazing diverse worlds. So you know the different continents, the different kingdoms, and then there's a huge cast of characters, but you know them because of the way they're written. And I just don't see any of that in The Faithful and the Fallen. It's like there's so many like better books you could probably get into.
Yeah.
Spend your time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
Anyway,
Thank you guys.
I'm following her now. She's got a PhD. Yeah, I saw at the end she actually said she was working in her PhD in her bio on this one. So it looks like she accomplished that because it says she has a PhD now.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. I mean, this was technically well written, and I think the knowledge of history and the way she wrote it in was very good.
Yeah. I do think it was very well written.
No way I would
even
say,
if it was frustrating.
Yeah, you can see the intelligence of the author in this.
No, I'm excited for whatever she puts out next. I hope I enjoy it. She did such a good job with character building for the most part and the character connections that even if it's a magical school system, I could see just falling in love with the characters.
It's called Babel.
Being a major point.
I think already being called Babel sounds like it may have some very deep connections because the Tower of Babel has a lot of connotations and messages that can go with. So fascinating. I'm interested.
And I don't think she has a date even yet.
August 2022. So not an official date, but next August. I'm literally looking at it right now. She's like, I'm so thrilled to announce my next novel, Babel, which will be out August 2022 from Harper Voyager. Then she said, and I guess it looks like there's going to be focusing on 4 main characters: Robin, Victor. I guess it's probably I don't know, Victoire. So Victor or Victoire. I don't know. Ramiz and Letitia. Now, honestly, if the male is named Robin, I love. Sometimes there's like those names in fictions where you just like attached to. I love male Robins because I'm a comic book person. I think the male is Robin. Yeah, because Victor sounds like Victoire sounds like a female name, and Letitia is probably definitely a female name. Looks like it's like 2 boys and 2 girls. So interesting. So again, that goes differently from how she's written Poppy War then, is if there's like 4 main people instead of like one perspective like Ren.
It'll be interesting.
There's also artwork, in case you guys want to check it out.
Oh, now you have me curious.
I can share also, like we did last time, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there is a sharing option. Registry.
Here it is.
Yeah, so this is her page.
Ah, yes. Yeah. That'll be fun.
I already I love the diversity initially. I know I feel like that's sometimes cliche and people are like diversity for diversity's sake, but I mean like she's clearly got an Asian person, African American, Nazim. I'm assuming that's Ramiz, which definitely seems to be like Middle Eastern.
Victoire.
Yeah.
So that's going to be French, right? So that'll be.
Which is cool because it's a person of color and then a different nationality. So I like that already.
Bring it.
Yes. It would be interesting to see her bring her knowledge of race into a more positive book. I'm hoping. I'm sure I'm not saying it has to be like happy the entire time, but it would be really interesting to see her explore like racial stuff, but not them hate each other so viscerally.
It'd be a change. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It'll be good. I'm excited. And this was good. Thank you for discussing the series.
I feel like we're starting to wrap it up, and honestly, I'm sad. Like I said, I know, Steve, you definitely have a lot of discussions. Liz, I don't know how many discussions you have. This is one of two. Like, I've only really talked about this series and Faithful and the Fallen. I've already expressed this multiple times, but I absolutely loved, and this made for an amazing reading experience. I feel like again, I feel like that's why we do discussions and buddy reads, is to turn like something very like a solitude kind of hobby. I don't know, I can't think of the right word, but yeah, like usually like you don't talk to people. It's not a very sociable hobby, and then turning this into something sociable and connecting to people is really awesome. So I'm sad that we're done, but I know there's always more books that we can read and talk about.
There's always a future, and that's what's great about reading too.
Yeah,
because there's so much out there.
I feel like it's just like this one feels so special because we've like connected with so many things, and obviously I have this very good experience, and with Faithful in the Fallen I didn't. So it's like yeah, there's always going to be more books. You just hope that the next one we read is going to be like, you know, really amazing, great discussions. There's going to be another amazing book, but you know, it's just sad to let one go that felt like really powerful.
Yeah. Some good conversation. And there's some interesting themes that she played with in this series that, like you mentioned, and it was good to. This is the kind of like Faithful in the Fallen. I, as excited as I was to start it, I wouldn't have minded reading that one by myself, knowing what I know now, because there's not much. You know, we end up talking about other things when we're meeting up for that one, but this one has a lot of themes and a lot of history, and there's a lot to talk about. So it was a perfect way to discuss it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, it was good. Thank you for holding on too for 3 months and doing the whole series.
Yeah, it was I was even like the first book was a little bit of a letdown for me. It was okay. I didn't hate it, but I was hopeful that things would. You know, I still wanted to know what was going to happen, so I was still excited to read it. The second half of the first book was a lot better. It really very striking.
I love how that's the thing. That's like a big thing is like if you're gonna like not only just in general do you like the series or not, but specifically that first book and the first half compared to the second half of the book.
Yeah,
I kind of get why it was structured that way now. Even after the second book, I was like, okay, I understand why she went that direction. So I get it. So I'm glad that because if we weren't reading together, I would have probably waited a little bit before getting to the second one. But I'm glad it worked out the way it did. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, like I said, like I know I wouldn't have liked the second one as much without our discussion. Like just in my own thoughts and how I felt about it. Like you guys helped me like see a lot of things that I didn't see when I read through the second book. So I definitely know the second discussion helped me enjoy this a lot more and helped raise that rating. Mm-hmm. This one didn't much, but I feel like we were all pretty much in the same level. This one just like I think we all felt the same. I think we all kind of like feel the same after we're done.
Yeah.
But it was still nice.
But still a great series.
Yeah.
That
excellent
ending,
conclusion.
That ending. It was. I didn't mind
the
it
ending
too much.
Saves it.
Yeah. The ending saves it. Yeah.
Which is It's like the last 10 pages of that.
It's literally, that's what I said. It's like, I love the very, very, when I say the very end, I mean literally the very, very end. Just the last couple of pages.
You just have to read 600 pages before you get there.
And that's all. Yeah, next time I'm going to skip the first 200, skim 300 more, just really focus on the last couple.
Last 10 pages. But just to play devil's advocate, and I was the one who brought it up about it could have been a lot smaller, a lot shorter of a book. If we didn't have those moments in the beginning and those long journeys, would the ending have been as impactful as it was without the buildup?
I don't think it would have been more impactful. I still think overall I'd be happy about it because I have these like negative feelings because of the wastefulness and just how long it is to get through. Because sometimes people are just like, well, not how am I think of it? Like, the way this is written and the way things are done are all technical. The technical parts of this book are done well, but I didn't enjoy my time reading it, which is why technically it should be a 5-star, but I enjoyed it by a 3 or 4. I feel like that's kind of like how I would feel. Is just my overall enjoyment would have been better, and I would have felt better about it, even if it didn't change much else.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the emotion around our characters really happened. The buildup really happened in the first and second book. And the third book was more of the slog and the journey to Rin's downfall. So even if it was cut up, I think I'd still have the emotional reaction.
Yeah. She had a tough job coming off of like book 1 and 2 to make it strong.
It's true. It's hard to finish a story, I'm sure.
Oh, no one's ever going to be happy.
Yeah. That's why I admire her for just going for it, just.
Granted, I feel like Steve, your prediction definitely came true from book 2, where you said in book 3 everyone was gonna die basically, and it did. Like I said, they raised the world, and everyone died. I can't remember, Liz, what yours was.
I went for like a middle ground where Kate would be like president or something, and Rin would be out in the woods being Rin.
Like in exile.
I think that was mine. I think you at least thought that she was gonna die. I think I was the most positive. I was just like, yeah, I think it'd be cool if she was like around but not present, and Katai is still alive. Like, I was the one that was just like, everyone's gonna live, right?
So everyone died. So my prediction was everyone was gonna die.
I think you did think that Katai was gonna be alive, though.
Yeah, I think you predicted Ren would die, but Katai would live, and he would carry on.
I'm gonna have to look back now.
Yeah. Rewatch our last discussion.
Maybe not.
It's only been a month. Yeah, it's only been a month. It's hard to remember things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
many books and so many, it's lose track.
I mean, like you said, like I kept mixing up the Sword of Kaigen book with this one. Just like, what's happening again? But I love it. I've actually been reading a lot of, I think, East Asian inspired books lately. It's been really awesome to see. I'm really fascinated by their part of the world, because it feels so different from ours. Obviously, it's not. Europe is very close to ours, even kind of like Russia, sort of. So it's like East Asian is just so fascinating. I'm absolutely loving all these books I'm going through. Have you guys read Sword of Kaigen yet?
September.
Ooh. Oh, that's right. Of course, does, Steve. I'm looking forward to that. Liz, I definitely recommend Sword of Kaigen because of the emotion to it and the war. It's like this really does feel like a condensed version, Sword of Kaigen feels like a condensed version of Poppy, where there's a lot of talk about war. There's a lot of great emotional aspects. I love Sword of Kaigen more though because you love the characters. You're gonna absolutely love the characters. Whereas here we're like, Rin's kind of intolerable. And Najah and all these people are terrible. You're gonna absolutely love these characters, and it's gonna break your little heart. So yeah, Steve, I know you're reading it.
I don't know if I want to read that.
Oh, but do it. Okay, it is really sad though. But yeah, I said we could have the same discussions like this about Sword of Kaigen for sure. I completely forgot about that, Steve. I'm really looking forward to the Sword of Kaigen one. I think I actually said I was going like think I RSVP like in this one. Well, yeah, if you want to, then read Sword Art Kaigen in September, Liz, if you're interested at all. I don't even know if it's even close to your TBR, but it said it's a lot more digestible version of the Poppy War. It's just one book. It's like one and done. It's so good.
Yeah. And it looks thick, but it's only, I don't want to say only, but it's like 600 pages, I think.
Yeah, it's like as big as thicker. This one, and like that's it.
That's just one.
I might have to read that. I know. I've been on a huge reading slump basically all this month.
Oh, really? I kind of was too, actually.
Yeah. I think I read 5 books total in this guy, including that guy. So
that's your slump? That's like my normal. That's like my average.
That's like my month. Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, so, don't remember if we have it set up yet.
You have it set up for October. October 3rd is the book is we read in September, but the live stream is October 3rd.
Okay. Yeah. October 3rd.
Yeah, I'm actually excited because I know the Wizardly Duo Discord, the one I normally am in, we read it this month, and we're going to be doing a live discussion. I'm so excited to talk about it. I've never actually talked about a book twice, so it'll be fun to do this discussion and then the discussion with you guys, Steve.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it was the one because most of them I think it's like, oh, I would like to be a part of it. It's like I want to be a part of the community and talk to people. This one was just like, I need to express my feelings about this book.
You're just convincing me now.
Yeah, this is the opposite of Faithful in the Fallen. Like this, instead of me tearing it down and making it impossible to think you like it, this is like me doing the opposite.
I'm not liking you anymore.
I don't even think it's even like what's the word we use? Divisive. I think in general, it'll be hard pressed to find somebody who hasn't liked this book. So
that's good to know.
You have very little to lose, in my humble opinion.
Except my feelings, my tears.
It's gonna hurt, but it's gonna hurt good. Like I said, it's gonna hurt because you love the characters. But I feel like in Poppy War, it hurts because it feels so real and it's awful the things that happen. Well, maybe that actually makes it harder. But yeah, in Sword of Kaigen, it hurts because you love these characters. So yeah, it actually is gonna probably hurt more. Sorry.
I don't like you anymore, John. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just wait until you read it and then you can let me know if you truly dislike me or not.
I just already know.
Oh, I'm so happy. Sorry, I'm like gushing now because I'm literally in the throes of reading it. I'm in the last like couple chapters. I'm gonna be done with it after this. So you guys caught me in a bad time. I'm just like gushing about it now.
Yeah. Everyone I know gushes about that book, so I'm excited for it.
Maybe. Depending on how my September goes.
Good luck if you do.
Yeah. We'll be there.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
This has been fun. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Well, good luck in October. I can't believe it's October. What did I just say? I can't believe it's already August.
2 more months.
Yeah.
We can survive.
I feel like I'm still trying to wrap up July, and now August has already started. I'm like, but wait, I still need to gather all my thoughts from the books I read in July. So this is a really awesome way to end my July reading month. So thanks, guys. Hopefully we'll talk soon.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. Maybe Sword of Kaigen.
Maybe. Yeah. Hopefully. I'll see you there, Liz.
Okay.
We'll see you there.
Bring your Kleenex.
It's decided then, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. And
thank you guys.
You too.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.